Hey there, everybody. Seja Popham here, founder of the School of Evolutionary Herbalism. And when we're thinking about herbal medicine making, some of the topics that generally come up amongst herbalists is much more, very linear in its approach to how we prepare herbal medicine, right? Now, what part of the plant do we use, and should it be fresh or should it be dried? And what percentage alcohol should we use? Is it better as an infusion or a decoction? What are the chemicals in the plant and how do we best extract them? Right? That's usually kind of what we're looking for and discussing a lot amongst ourselves as herbalists when we're thinking about how can we make the best, most powerful and effective herbal medicine that we can, right? And I think that's super important, right? We need to know how to make effective herbal medicine, right? That is, concentrating and extracting and preserving all of the medicinal virtues within a plant. Now, when we start digging into the alchemical tradition and the practice of spagyrics or herbal alchemy, we're not just focusing on concentrating the chemistry of the plant, but also concentrating the energetics and the spiritual properties of the plant as well. The whole goal of spagyrics being that we are, preserving the life force of the plant, the wholeness of the plant, its body, its intelligence, its spirit, and its soul, so that it will heal the whole person, right? It'll heal our physical being, our psychological, emotional being, and even heal us on more of a spiritual level as well. But it's not super common that the dynamic of intention is really discussed, right, in standard herbal medicine making. But it's a really important part that's discussed quite openly in the alchemical tradition. They say in alchemy that it is the intention and the state of consciousness of the operator, right, the person working in the laboratory context, that it has a very powerful influence on the medicine that we are preparing. And so there's a couple ways that I think are really important that we can follow to kind of get ourselves in a good internal state that's conducive to making very high quality herbal medicine, especially in the context of preparing spagyrics. So this was a question that recently came up in a student Q&A session, and I really appreciated the question, and I felt like had some good things to share on it. So I thought I would open this one up to the greater evolutionary herbalism community and share with you my thoughts about the importance of intention and the state of our mind and our heart when we are preparing plant medicine, as well as kind of taking it to a little bit of a deeper level in terms of what our role is as an herbal medicine maker within the context of alchemy, and combining not just the outside laboratory dynamics of alchemy, but also bringing in the inner alchemy, right? Our internal spiritual work and kind of the way that we're able to move these energies that we're working with in the external lab and work with them internally as well. So I hope you enjoy this discussion here on sometimes a seldomly discussed aspect of herbal medicine making. Question number 9 is coming from Amanda. And Amanda is asking, when does the alchemist's constitution factor into a spagyric essence? You've referenced briefly on occasion how mindset and intention during preparation are important, but have been curious as to how our chart affects our essences or boosts them. Oh, that's a very interesting question, Amanda. So I think that, So really the goal for someone that is practicing, the art of alchemy, right, is that we ourselves have our own direct connection and relationship to the archetypal forces of nature. In the context of spagyrics, we're really working a lot with the planets. So 7 planets: Sun, Moon, Mars, Venus, Jupiter, Saturn, and Mercury. Through Mercury and Venus and Mars, we can have a connection to Neptune, Pluto, and Uranus. But so the goal is that we have our own connection and relationship to these archetypes. When it comes to our intention and kind of our own internal space when we're working with or when we're creating spagyrics, the goal is for us to be very clear and very clean, right? So I always talk about, in the lab, the medicine making spaces, both laboratory and temple, so to speak, right? It's like you want your mind and your heart to be very clean, very pure. You don't want to be in there thinking bad thoughts or stressed out or arguing with your partner or, worrying about a bunch of things. You're just very present. You're very here. You're very now, and you're focused on the medicine that you're creating. And I think that's kind of like the first kind of way to approach it. And as you become more aware of, your own connection and relationship to the planets, and you're timing all of your preparations accordingly to those celestial influences, that there's ways where you kind of can become a vehicle through which the energy of that planet can kind of build up in your system. You can kind of draw that planetary energy into your body and build it up and kind of allow that energy to move through you and through your intention and through your prayer to infuse that into the medicine that you're preparing. There's a really cool chapter in my teacher's book, second book, The Way of the Crucible, and he's got a chapter in there called The Alchemical Eucharist. And for those of you not familiar with the term Eucharist, it's kind of another way of talking about the communion, right? The Holy Communion, and how, there's, the alchemist as the operator can function as a bridge between the medicine that you're preparing here and the celestial force that you're wanting to anchor into the medicine there, right? So we are that bridge between the above and the below. And so, I always say, herbalism, we harvest plants; alchemy, we harvest planets. And there's kind of there's passive ways that we harvest those planets, and then there's active ways that we harvest those planets. Passive ways are like, by timing everything accordingly, right? That just through making sure you're preparing your St. John's wort essence on Sunday at the sun hour, you're innately bringing that solar influence into the medicine. So you're just timing it accordingly. But the more active methods is really through your meditation, through the inner alchemy, right? And I think one of the most important attributes of inner alchemy is that, again, we are building a relationship to these 7 planetary qualities, to these archetypal forces, that we come to understand, their color and their vibration and their sound and their feeling. And, what does it feel like when Mars is really moving through you? Excuse me, what does it feel like when you feel that upliftment of Jupiter, right? And so this is where the meditation comes in, where working with your spagyrics help you to kind of get a handle on those felt sensations, where meditating with your planetary hours and the timing mechanisms so you can really feel those influences comes into play. This is also where, a working knowledge of the Kabbalah comes into play in the work with alchemy, in that the Kabbalah shows us certain ways of establishing connections and communion with these celestial forces. So that's the way, I know you're asking about our constitution. I would say our goal is actually not for our own, the goal is for our constitution not to get in the way of the preparation of the medicine. Like, we don't want to be infusing our personal energy into the spagyrics we prepare. Rather, we want to be an instrument. We want to be a vehicle, a mechanism through which these greater archetypal forces move through us and then imprint themselves on the medicine, so that we're bringing that celestial energy down and into the medicine. And that's kind of the beauty and the paradox of alchemy, and how everything flips around. Like my really good friend Gabriel Quinn Maroney, I went to Bastyr with him. He was one of the first guys that I met that was into alchemy, and he taught me a lot, actually, and is a genius of a man, and really great guy too. And he always says, he's a pretty funny guy too. He says, as soon as you think you know something about alchemy, you just have to flip it upside down. And I remember laughing with him about that, like, oh, that's really funny. Like, he's like, yeah, as above, so below. You just got to flip it on its head. And then, at first it was kind of like, ha ha ha, that's funny. And then we really kind of thought about it, and I was like, wow, actually, that's super profound. And I think this is one of those cases too. So when you're preparing the medicine, you are the instrument between the planets and the medicine. When the medicine is complete, and when you're preparing, there's two phases of a spagyric, right? You preparing the medicine in the lab, and then the other side of it. And that's the thing, is that everyone thinks that the spagyric is complete when you finish preparing the medicine in the lab. No, that's just the first half of it. Again, everything flips. Now you ingest that medicine, and now it prepares you into the medicine. And just as the way in the lab, you are the vehicle for that planet to move through you and into the medicine, when you ingest the medicine, now it is the bridge between you and that planet. And so now the medicine is going to help you to come into a deeper level of contact with that celestial force of that planet in your meditations and things like that. And, this is really like, and I know this all, it's funny because, like, talking about this from the Western esoteric traditions perspective, to a lot of people, they're like, whoa, that sounds really woo-woo and kind of out there. But this is what Qigong is all about, right? There's certain aspects of the Chinese system, specifically Qigong, that involves contacting these planetary energies, bringing these planetary energies down, moving them through our organ systems and our tissues, and understanding their color and tone and vibration and their vision and their felt sensation in the body, and then becoming a vehicle for that energy to work through you in a healing way. It's the same thing in the Western tradition, right? In this case, we're using it in the lab to create an herbal medicine, but then again, like I said, it flips on its head, and now the herbal medicine is working within the laboratory of our body to turn us into a medicine, right? So one part's on the outside, right? We're in the lab preparing medicine. The other part's on the inside. The plant is moving within us. Now it's like we're working on the plant in the lab. The plant is working on us within our body, which is the lab, right? So it's all, that's the thing about, I love that you just flip it upside down, and it makes sense, right? And that's how it works. And that's really what I see the path of alchemical medicine is really all about, is that we are coming into a greater level of connection to the forces of nature, to the forces of life, to the forces of creation, the elements that exist here on the earth, the planets that exist in the cosmos and in our solar system. There's intelligence, there's sentience. These are like the great spiritual overseers of life and of nature. And over time, as we as humans have become more scientific, more mechanized, more rational, we've really lost touch with the understanding that we can commune with these intelligent, sentient forces of creation, and that they can heal us, and then that they can teach us, and that they hold the keys to our health and our well-being and our wholeness and our spiritual development. And that's really what alchemy is all about, right? It's about the soul's evolutionary journey that we come onto this earth to engage with, and also the healing work that we have to do that inevitably comes up when we embark on that spiritual journey of really becoming who we truly are and healing our trauma and turning it into our transformation and seeing our illness as our initiation. And so that really is that path of alchemy, right? Is the inner work and the outer work, the above work and the below work, the laboratory work and our own work, right? Working on the plants, but also the plants working on us. And in that way, in the same way that we make medicine in the lab as the first half of the spagyric process, everything flips. And then the plants work on us, the plants heal us, the plants teach us, the plants become this bridge to connect us to these archetypes, and then they turn us into a living medicine. And that ultimately is the pathway of the alchemical herbalist. So that's a really great question. I really love the way that you mentioned that, Amanda, and how really thinking about the way that we do affect the medicine that we create, and the importance of our intention, and like I said, of keeping our hearts and our minds really pure and really clean when we're making medicine. But there is also kind of this other level of medicine making in alchemy that involves kind of this deeper level of our internal work and our meditation, and learning how to move and embody and move the energy of these archetypes that we work with in alchemy. So